So yesterday we saw about how we can record the scenarios, and we were speaking also. I mean, we are also speaking about removing the .png files like images and .css and .js file, because this will not have any impact in the load testing. If you are doing load testing at the server end and see server parameters and server checks, if these are in the CDN or if you are taking it from the different place. But if you are taking all these parameters directly from the server and you are checking the data from the server, you need to have this as same thing, or it should not be removed from your recording script. So it all based on your application. But if it's an e-commerce site, mostly that will be taken from your CDN, and your JavaScript and CSS doesn't have any impact on the performance of your load testing or spec testing. So you can just remove all the CSS file and JS file. So here I haven't removed all the files, but most of the HTTP calls and other things I have removed. So just to see the complete flow. For example, here I'm having the home page and I have the subscribe button here. So all other related endpoints I have removed from here. If you see, the first request itself is having 158. So I have removed all the 157 requests. It is not record for me, and I have removed the entire things. So here, as we saw, so mostly we have to make the changes only on the API calls. So as we also discussed about the send OTP and verify OTP, we will see from here. So first, I have made the changes in the send OTP. So I just provided my number or email ID in the request JSON file. So since I have made the modification there, I have to make the changes as EL file body. Any doubts here? In this point, this is the very first point which we need to make any changes if you are going to make in the API changes. So if you are going to use dynamic parameters here, then it should be a EL file. If there is no dynamic parameters, it is raw file. And if you have the enter body, it is string file body. Sorry, string body. Any questions here? No, right? Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the second one is after sending the OTP, I will be getting the OTP. I will be setting the, I will be entering the OTP here. So for every entry, I will be getting access token. So this is common across most of the websites, because whenever you log in, so they will not use your login credential or username or password for the further procedure. Either they will be using dynamic number like or unique number that has been mapped to you guys, like customer ID or your like what we have for the Aadhaar number, right? So that kind of data will be used. So that will be specific only to the particular application. For Amazon, you will be having a certain numbers that will be linked to your email ID, phone numbers, and other things. Similarly, for here, we have the customer ID also. But whenever I log in, access token will be generated. Throughout the entire session, that access token will be passed to show this customer's access on that particular session. So this access token is very, very important in the upcoming endpoints. So without knowing your application and this API endpoints, you cannot make these changes. So we got this from the product team, and this access token is useful in the other APIs. So I'll show how I am using this access token in the other APIs. Before that, I'll show how I am taking it in the or storing it in the access token. So we already see how to correlate, right? So whatever we are getting in the response, we want to store those values into a key. So here I'm storing that key as an access underscore token. I'm getting the response as access token. I can show you the response also once again. So OTP has been sent. Verify OTP. Okay, email ID and password I'm sending. So I'm getting the access token here. So this is the body. So we saw how to take it from the JSON path.
Gopi, so this is the most important part which you need to concentrate more, Gopi. So specifically when we are running it, so how to debug from the logs, which we need to pass it as a static, dynamic, and how we need to pass that particular correlation values. So these are the probably which we need to more concentrate from our framework, which we are lagging at this point of time is these areas. So please do ask if you have any questions or anything. Not only you, anyone else, but still you are getting stuck all means in these areas, right? So that's where I was just pinpointing this area.
So yeah. So from the response, I have kept the response as an input here, and this is what the evaluation. So if I put dot, it will show the entire response here. This is the entire response which I got. From here, I want to take the access token. If I copy those and I just add here, so this is the access token I will be getting. So this is the access token which I am saving it in the key as access token. This key can be anything. Let's assume this can be access token 1. And if I am keeping this access token as 1, access token 1, then this should be there in your upcoming endpoints. So this will be stored in your memory or in your RAM. So from there, it will be taking all these values. Okay. So let's assume I'm taking as an access token 1 for your convenience to understanding. When the login user, so the next endpoint is login user. Let's see what
so one question here. So
yeah.
With regards to that Babo JSON part, whichever you copied, so you went to the logs and copied that JSON response and then pasted there in the JSON online, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so how I am getting these responses? So this is the request 167. I just copy this. I go to the log, Control F, request 167. Okay, I'm not running this. Probably this request is.
Okay, no problem. You can go down and show that it will be above that, right?
We'll be having the request number, or you can even copy paste the endpoint.
We only call APIs as endpoints, right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not getting this. OTP, right? _OTP. Okay.
Maybe you search for backward. Just click on that. Oh, okay.
We have here. So if you put the endpoint, you will be getting the endpoint. So first you will be having the request endpoint, and it's what are the headers you are passing over there, and your request body. So here I'm using form body. So I'm getting this. And then HTTP response, your status code, response headers, and response body. So you have to check in the response body, and you have to take the respective key and store it in the respective key. Okay. So this is how you have to check it for other things. Now let's see for get user.
Okay, the whatever you did is just to verify whether whatever we are trying to pass is as a parameter, is it right or not? Is it right?
So this access token is used in
so
other.
We can directly see whatever I see here is, it will just be a variable name, correct? You're saying things in one variable name, no matter what it is.
Yeah, no matter what it is, the key, you can store it as even Pramod for your reference.
Yeah. But this dot access token also can be Pramod also, right?
No. This is
okay. That one.
Exactly what it is in the.
What is that in the response?
Yeah. So I'm just copying this. I'm not making any changes here. So whatever it's the exact JSON path is here, that should be there in the first place. The JSON path parser here, and save as whatever key you can
whatever
use.
Yeah.
Whatever key you want to use it. So this is check JSON path, the exact JSON path of the key which you are going to look into it, and save as whatever key you want. So make this as an prominent one, so we can understand from the key itself, so that you can use in the upcoming things.
Yes.
So mostly I will be using as the same as access token, because
correct.
for that I can understand from the previous response also. So let's see.
So dot check is something that you are trying to save a dynamic value in a.
So dot check
variable.
is, so already we saw, right, assertion and other things.
Yeah.
So if you want to do assertion dot check, you can also use this JSON path, and the value can be verified here. That is for check. And if you want to save this value in a different key, you can save it as save key as. So the check is a general one. This will check the response, and in the response, you are passing your response to the access token key and saving it as a whatever key which you want.
So whatever, for example, here the request is 167, correct? Yeah. So we should actually capture. We can only capture that 167 token under that, correct?
Yeah, under this only. So right after the body, you have to have the check, because you are gonna get the response for.
Is it 120, right? 167? What is the header 165? There's no relationship. Request only that we need to see at request. Why is the header 125, 165?
It is a recorded scenario, right? So okay, you may have a different recorder.
So our focus is only about the request.
About the URL, the request, and your response.
Is there any condition that it should only be under the body, the call, the JSON file?
Okay, it should be after body.
After body.
Yeah. So what will happen is, in the get point, in the post endpoint, it will take the request. It will take the headers, which is for the in post request. Take the body. It will post it. Right after posting it, we will get the response. Then that we are checking the response, capturing it, and saving it in a key. And whenever you are making some check here, add a pass. Okay. Because in your recorded scenario, you will be having resources and you will be having continuous HTTP calls. If you see here, resources, post, headers, body, and again you have HTTP, post, headers, body. So these are all a chain reaction, like builder pattern. So here it will not check the response here. It will keep on posting and it will check only at the last point. So if you want to add check here, it will not capture your response here. It will capture all your response at the end and it will store into the respective parameters. If you want to check and assign some key to here, then you have to add a pass. You have to add a check. Check these things and add a pass. Break the resource chain and add it here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a last question? So is there any set that you should always have with .exe? Execute exec.
So exec should be any HTTP call should be started with .execution. Even from the scenario.
Sorry, go ahead.
So even from the scenario stop, it will start with exec only. So execution is the first part. Inside execution, you will be having HTTP call, HTTP protocol, and this is the name of that HTTP call. And next one is the URL.
Header post. Okay.
Then you will be having header. Then you will be having body. Get headers. Body.
No, we'll go to same 167. It was nice. Yeah.
So exec, get headers. Previously it was resources, which means it's having multiple requests combined with the comma. But what I did is I break the resources chain here. Okay, I break the resources chain and I added the pass here. And since I am breaking the resource chain, I am again adding a resource here so that in future you will be having a proper response and other things. So if you see, this will be a duplicated one. Headers 29, resource, and get URI. This will be same as here.
Why?
Because I have breaked these resources. I am checking something and I'm passing it. And again, this chain should be created, right? So I just copied these things. It can be any URL or any headers or any resources, but it should be a proper one.
But it will not impact the scenario, right?
It will not impact the scenario. Okay. It can be even just a get URL / and headers with the empty headers, or you don't even have to have headers, and resources. You can have just a HTTP and request name. So that should be also fine. But Yeah, so I just copied it for my convenience and I proceeded further. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, in the get user, we'll be having JSON request 169. Those are new checkpoint. Those are new checkpoint request 169. Okay, here I have added the access token, whatever I saved from there. So this is taken from the CSV file, CSV feeder, and this one is from the response of the previous request. So we are sending both these things as a parameter and we are executing that. And we are executing the get user. If you see here, I'm not taking the resource chain because I doesn't need any response for this get user. So I'm just adding the access token and mobile number and I'm sending it. And if in case if you really need the customer ID or anything for your upcoming endpoints, then you have to break the resource chain. You have to add the check JSON path, whatever key you need, save it as a different key, and then pass. And from the next one, you have to add your resource chain.
Oh, one question: why should we even break the chain? It can be execute only, right? Always.
You can execute
one in one form.
Check the response. Right? It will not save the key.
Okay, so anytime you add this check, that means you need to have the break there.
Yeah, you have to break the chain there.
Arun, I'm sorry, I didn't understand here. You mean to say that like means if you see now check is nothing but that method do the accession, right?
Yeah.
When means the accession or the correlation. So either one it will perform. Now in this particular here it was doing the correlation, not the accession.
Yeah.
For this one we have been breaked up this. Why the point, Arun? Means if we continue with this one, what would be the reason? Means what would be the problem?
It will continuously go without checking, even if you add the check response. So most of the time it was.
So you mean to say that dot check will need some time to execute?
Yeah, it needs it. We need to parse it and it needs to check it.
Okay, fine. Then why can't we give a pause? See, without breaking it, without breaking the chain, we can also give a pause for 2 or 3 seconds, right? Without breaking.
Okay.
Is it possible?
I haven't tried it. Probably we can try it once.
Sure.
Okay.
So
sure.
Yeah, this worked for me, so I made the modifications. You can try it with adding a check JSON and add a pause here. I'm not sure whether after pause you can add the command.
Yeah, that's what my question is. If we make pause,
we haven't tried it. Probably we can.
Will the chain break? Will the chain break?
If we have a pause here, it will check it and it will have a pause. So no problem for that.
Let's try once.
Let's try once. And
let's try once and see it. Cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Arun. Go ahead.
So the next endpoint, the guy get user. So all other endpoints, I just have it for to understand for my reference, because from this I can understand how many endpoints has been pushed on other things. This doesn't have much impact on your performance of the server. If you want, you can have this, or you can just remove it. You can just check with your developer or your product team to see whether you are checking these endpoints for the performance. If they are not checking it, you can just remove these endpoints. And the next one is, okay, this one is raw file body, API product info. Here I'm just sending the same model ID in the sense it's an product ID. Let's take this as a product ID. It's a product info. I'm sending a product info in the request 178. So this is a product ID which I'm setting. Always I'm sending a static one. Because I'm not using this, or I'm not selecting this product ID for my purchase. So it will just send the product ID and it will show whatever products related to this product ID. So this doesn't make any sense to change this endpoint. So you don't have to change all the API endpoints with the EL body and make those changes. So wherever it is required, you can make the changes. So this is what we discussed yesterday, Pramod. So you don't have to change all the API points and all the model IDs or whatever JSON you have. You can change only wherever it is required. Wherever you wanted to get the dynamic parameters, or wherever you want to make some value or wherever you want to change some dynamic parameters alone, you can change it. Otherwise, you can just leave the same thing as a raw file and the same request can be passed. Any doubts here, Prabhu or
No.
Rajesh or Ratish? Okay. So here again, product info. I'm not making any changes here. It's just a raw file. Again, product info. Maybe I made search different products in the continuous call. So it is checking for the different products. Again, product info. So in this scenario, I have searched multiple products. That's why
So you are just leaving the raw file for JSON file.
Gopi, that is what Arun explained, right? So we do have 3 types of things.
Yeah.
One is ELF body, raw
ELF
file,
body.
and then the string body. So string body, so directly if you are passing that particular the post, we have the post body, right? So that directly we can pass it in the script itself.
Correct.
Else if we wanted to pass it from a file, so that particular body will be stayed in that request.json file. So now in the request.json file, we'll be passing that particular body. Now, if you are passing that for values as a static, then you'll use the raw body. You'll not, if when you are seeing something as a raw file body, then the values are static in that particular thing. So you're not going to change anything.
Correct,
and if it is
correct.
a ELF, then it is dynamically changed.
Dynamically changed in the both. I understood that. So here in the raw file, where is the static value presented here?
it is in the JSON file, right? 195 JSON.
That is what we are talking, right? So now that is what the raw file means.
Okay, the static value is okay. We will just ignore it. It will have the same value there. We will not pass anything dynamic.
That is what static.
Okay, okay. Static. I was just thinking we'll mention it there.
Cool, got it. Is it clear,
Yes.
Pramod? Any other? Yeah.
No, clear. Okay.
Yeah, Arun, please go ahead.
One more question. Sorry. So, so this is raw file is very clear.
Okay.
If in case, I'm just trying to say, if in case we change the raw file to EL file,
okay,
and I still feel it's static, I don't think it is required. You remember, right? I was trying to change, then you said it is static, leave it as it is. Right? So will there be any problem, or should I change it to raw?
It's not recommended to change it as EL file. It will, because it will go and check for expression change.
Okay.
I haven't tried it. Probably you can check whether it's making any error or it is just using the same thing as.
Because what I did was in the experiment, I changed all the raw to EL.
Okay.
Okay. No matter it is there. And after after trying to verify things, there are some static values.
Okay.
Which need not to be parameterized. So now, as per your advice, I need to
I am not sure about whether that will throw an error, but the other way it will surely throw an error. For example, you have made the changes in your JSON file using the dollar and replacing parameters, and if it doesn't change here as to EL file, it will
definitely throw an error.
It will not throw error. What will happen is it will just post that exact data over there and it will send it over here. For example, you have changed it as a model ID and you have sent it over there. What will happen is, one second, I'm just trying. Right? So it will send the request as param $mobile number. It will consider that as a static value and it will send this is a request. So you will be getting invalid mobile number or the mobile number is not in a proper format. So you change it here and you are not getting as you are not changing that as EL profile. I mean EL raw file.
Yeah.
That will be a problem. So mostly you may get the error here because you may change here and you forgot to change it in the raw file. That will throw an error. That will not throw an error. That will throw an failure in your response. While compilation, it won't throw any error, but while you are executing, it will throw an failure response. Okay. And mostly if you have any check status during recording, just remove that. I haven't removed it here, but if there is any check statuses, you can just remove it. Even the entire response point, you can remove it unless it is required. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am using the same username and the mobile number and other things in the upcoming endpoints also. I'm just checking for stocks. Let's see what is there in the stocks. So here also it doesn't require any change. I am mostly sending it as a raw file. I'm sending it as a raw file. So mostly you have to make the changes wherever you have an API or whatever the endpoints which you have a change over there. So all others are similar. The raw
Maybe some network issues. He got disconnected.
I'm sorry, guys. I just jumped into the call. Anything for me?
No, seems Arun got disconnected. Maybe due to network, or maybe his laptop was very low charged.
Okay.
He would have restarted something.
So you can just take the cart ID. But if I want to take cart line ID, what I have to do is cart lines, paste cart lines. It will show what is there inside the cart lines. And you have a list over here. So you have to use the index, list of index 0. And inside that, you have to take for the cart line ID. Dot cart line ID. So just now you are getting the cart line ID's response. So this is how you have to write the JSON path. So this is, I mean, an entirely different topic from load testing or performance testing. It's about parsing your JSON which you are getting. But I'm saying here because this is required for your load testing execution. Okay. So this is how we have to take for the cart line ID or nested values for the from JSON path. So similarly, if you want to take this ID, then you have to come to images and take the ID. Okay.
Yeah, similar to XPath.
Yeah, kind of. So that's about taking this, and you can also make the changes in the form param also. So in the form param also, you can make the dynamic changes with the dollar symbol and open brace, close brace, the order ID. So this order ID I have taken from the previous response of the endpoint. Probably from here I have taken it and I am using it here. So this will work. You don't have to make any changes here for we are using for string body or other things, right? That is not required. Form param, you can directly go and change the value. Okay.
Will this apply for all the form params or only whichever is dynamic?
Even for form param, query param, you can directly go and change the things. You can directly go and change the value around. So if you want to change the mobile number here, you just remove it, dollar, and whatever mobile number I have given in the CSV file, you can directly add the mobile number. So either you can take it from the CSV or from the previous response, you can take, and replacing is same for both the things. You can just make these changes.
So the CSV which you are calling is only above, like your feed.
The feeder, yeah, the CSV feeder. You should have a columnless mobile number. If you have the column number, mobile number, then you can use it here. And or if you're saving it, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. So Arun, you mean to say that either if I given the mobile number, so that I can get it from the feeder, or I can get it from the response. So either in the correlation, either from the test data, so that directly I can call this one, so that the script have capability to understand and then get that data.
Yes,
right?
yes.
No. Here one small thing. See, if you mention like this in the form param, that means it will only refer to the CSV feeder.
No. It means, see, I am taking order ID from the previous response only, not from the feeder.
Okay, yeah, you should have something like check. If you have the declared, you can use the same. If you're not,
if you
if
save
you're not
as a
having
key,
it,
if you have it as a key, you can take it from here, or it will take it from the feeder.
Yeah,
but both are same.
So basically, so you need to have you should. Okay, the application, how the application works is,
okay, how the feeder works. I'm not sure whether I mentioned this point. So how feeder works is, whatever data you are providing in the CSV file, it will be completely taken and it will be kept in the memory. It will not read every time the CSV. So the entire CSV will be read and it will be kept in the memory. From the memory, it will be the data will be taken. So for the faster execution, for every time if it goes to the feeder and take the data, it will take more time. So instead of doing that, the entire CSV file will be taken and it will be kept in the memory. Even the same, whatever you are, adding a save keys, right? That also will be kept in the memory as a key mapper. So it will take from that key mapper and it will use it here. So both are same here.
So you mean to say all the, even the CSV or this dot check parameters that we give, it will all be there in the memory. Yeah. So once the moment you send this, no matter it is from CSV or
from
check, it will have there. If it matches, it's going to pull it.
Yes.
That's it. No matter from CSV or what do you call this check variable.
Yeah, correlation. No matter.
Okay.
Just gonna take from the memory and it will gonna pass.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, that is about the entire thing here. So I have changed wherever it's required and wherever done it. Any other questions, Chris? Any other points if you want in specific?
No, Arun. So that's the only, see, Arun. So where usually we will get stuck is, now we understand how to do the static and then dynamic parsing or passing the tested data. Those things are very clear. But actually you do one debugging, right? So usually once that from the logs, if this is failed, so now this I need to pass it as a dynamic or static. So these all things we need to depend upon the logs. I need to see the log and understand how, whether I need to pass this one as a dynamic or static, or which end means, for example, because of the token it was getting failed. So based upon the error message which you got it in the log, so according to that we are going to change. So that particular thing, based upon only the practice and experience, we might get that that we will be trying it. Any other pointers you faced it, any other problems Aaron, while creating these particular scripts?
I faced a few issues like compilation error and the method too large error. If you are gonna record the scenario from home page to thank you page, it will be a very large number of requests has been sent from your scenarios, right? For example, in application itself, in home page itself, there will be around hundreds of requests will be called because of JSS, CSS, and other API calls. There will be hundreds of requests here. If you see the entire scenarios for 6 to 7 pages, the number of requests has been very, very huge. What's happening is, while converting into a Scala file, all those requests are converted into a single class file. So in Java or in Scala, you have a compilation memory size. So if you are compiling something, it will have around 5 to 12 MB of memory by default. So if your compilation code is greater than that, it will throw in compilation error. Right? It will throw you method too large. So the entire class is too large, or the entire method is too large to be compiled. So on that point of time, you have to remove unwanted CSS file and JS file, or you can segregate the entire thing into two different things. If you see a recorded scenario, you'll be having three segments here by default. One is headers. Okay, so the recorded scenario which you recorded for.
Arun, in this time, if we increase the memory size, the RAM size in our Eclipse config file, will the problem will solved?
It should solve the problem, but what happens is if you increase to 1 GB or 2 GB, already Eclipse will be using 3 to 4 GB of your RAM size. And in that case, you have to increase the Eclipse RAM size also. And if you increase Eclipse RAM size also, your entire system will come down. If you are using 8 GB machine and if you are using 6 GB for Eclipse alone, it will bring down your system while you are executing your load testing. So there are multiple it's an chain reaction which will happen.
Cool.
What I did is, I'll say my solution, what I tried it. So yesterday we saw one recording, right? 1 second. Gatling. So if you see any recorded scenario, you'll be having three segments. One is header part, header 0, header 5. And the second one is URIs. So URL, whatever URL we are having dynamic URLs, you'll be having that. And third one is the scenarios. Okay. So these headers and this URIs itself it comes around 450 lines, right? 480 lines, or even 500 lines is coming. You can completely move this into a different class file, and you can extend that class file into this this particular scenario class file. So that's what I have done here.
So you mean to say that all the headers, URLs, and those things would be in one file, and all these particular
scenarios can be in another file. Yeah. So see here, I don't have any headers or anything here, but you see, I am extending the headers. So this headers will have my complete headers and my URIs. So this is one way to do that. I won't say this is the only way. This is one way to do that, having headers and things separately. Or you can create, this is the simplest solution that you can do it. Other way, what we can do is you can segregate the entire scenarios into multiple chain reactions, and then you can make a compilation. That will also help, but you should know where to break it and how to break it, and all the syntax things you have to know. So this will be simpler when compared to that chain reaction.
Got it. Got it.
This is just, you can copy the headers and other things, and you can just paste it here. That's it. So we are just removing 500 lines of code from there. So see here, I have some 937 lines of code. So I just reduced 937 lines of codes while compiling. So this will be two different compilations now. It will be easily compiled. This is one of the simplest way. If you want, you can also, if you want everything in a simple place and you want to do a proper thing, then you can split all those into multiple scenarios or multiple chains. And then in the scenario, you can add into different endpoints you can add it here, or different scenarios you can add it to respective things. So that can also be done. There are two ways.
Okay.
Mostly you will be getting error in the response only. So you have to check what is the request you are posting and what is the response you are getting from the Gatling. So this will give you a lot of idea how you are executing and what you are checking. So you have to check the request and response. So whatever, if you are getting 200 requests, that should be fine. And if you are not getting 200, you have to check why you are not getting 200, and you have to check for the respective status. So again, it all depends upon the API knowledge you have. So whatever API is one of the important thing. So before going this, just look into all the API concepts. What is 200 status?
Is there any chance, Arun, so without learning APIs, can we learn the performance testing or the Gatling for the APIs?
It will be difficult, Chris.
because whenever I say this one to the people are not believing this word, Arun. So that's where I was just, I just wanted to get confirmed. So without understanding the APIs or API automation or how the API works, can we know the performance testing? So I was, is there any chance so that, because I don't know. So if you suggest so that the people are not believing me, at least they can start, try to listen from you.
You can understand what is performance testing without knowing API testing. But if you're going to work on any open source tool, you should definitely know what is API, what is the status code. Only then you can debug and you can make the changes. Either it can be JMeter, either it can be Locust, either it can be Gatling. You should know the API concepts.